Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jade Alberts. I'm from Calgary, Alberta. I'm a small business strategist, influencer, and brand builder. My passion is helping small businesses grow and succeed, and that's why I started the Telling It Like It Is Facebook Live show. It is a live show. If you have any questions, please throw them up there. We will answer them. If you're watching this after the fact, still ask your questions, and Carrie and I will definitely answer them. Sharing knowledge and stories is something that's very passionate to myself and all of my guests. So we'd love engagement. I'd like to thank Healthy Heart Sleep Company for sponsoring this Facebook Live show. They are Calgary's premier sleep apnea CPAP company. They have 2 locations, and as always, support local. Today's Telling It Like It Is guest is Carrie Gour, of the founder of PwrSwitch. Carrie, thank you for joining me today, and how are you?
I'm awesome, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, I am so excited to have you on as a guest. I know when the first time we met, I always like to share how we met because networking is such a big part of our discussions. It was at the Community Now magazine fundraiser, I believe.
It was? Yep.
Yeah, and we were introduced by...
was it Derek?
Derek, yes, who's also been on this show, which is talking about philanthropy. So that is awesome, and I know the Community Now magazine is a great magazine that's helping bring Calgary together. So I know we both support it and really like it.
Yeah, well, and certainly PwrSwitch, our solution, helps people who are dealing with a certain kind of stress and mental anxiety. If you were a victim of cyber harassment, cyberbullying, or if you're going through a nasty divorce, it's hard on a person.
Oh, no, I've heard many stories, and unfortunately I wish I heard no stories, but it is part of the reality. So I will give a brief introduction here of Carrie, and then we will start. So Carrie spent more than 20 years in TV and film production, leading teams as a creator, producer, executive producer of award-winning documentaries for National Geographic, Discovery Channel, and the Food Network, among others. More recently, Carrie has worked as a freelance writer under her company Right On Girl, including years as a regular contributor to the Huffington Post. In 2018, she took a complete left turn into the world of technology startups, co-founding PwrSwitch with Beth Thompson. Passionate about the ability of PwrSwitch to improve lives, she's now committed to its success full time. So I know I had Dwayne Hanachu on about a month or so ago, and he talked about how he and his son started their business because of depressions. And obviously people start businesses because of a need in their lives. So please share your story and why you started PwrSwitch.
Yes. And I think for any aspiring entrepreneur out there looking at problems that need solving in your own life is a great place for inspiration and to start. So I am the product of a separation that I now know was high conflict about 4 years ago. And part of what made it high conflict was a high volume of communications between myself and my ex. So when I say high volume, I mean 30, 40, 50 text messages, emails, and phone calls every day. What you're told by your lawyer in these situations is that the only way to really protect yourself is to document every communication. Theirs to yours, and theirs to you, and you to them. At that volume, it's a full part-time job to just document, particularly when you consider you're in this emotionally chaotic time in your life. In my case, I was trying to work, I was single parenting, and I'm also dealing with the rest of life, soccer and this and that. And I just didn't do it well. And as a result, there were big gaps in my communications record, including at one point, I accidentally deleted months worth of communications that even with my lawyer writing letters to the telco's lawyer, we could not recover. People think that data lives forever. It actually doesn't, and it's a massive process to try to get that information back if, as in my case, you accidentally delete it. So as a result, I wasn't able to get the result that I wanted from our agreement. And the outcome of that was me asking the question, what would have made a difference for me? And I thought, what if all of that tracking was automated? And then just went out to test thinking, I can't possibly be the only person who has this problem.
No, I mean, and I'm sure you're not. And I know we had a brief conversation before, and you said about 20% of I guess divorces are high conflict. So there are quite a few people out there that can use a service like this, and obviously the anxiety and the stress of life that goes with it. This would probably be a big help for a lot of people.
Sure, and I should add that it goes both ways. I mean, it's not like I was only sending 2 messages a day, right? He would have been obligated to collect on his side too. And part of what drives that is that you're not rational when you're fresh out of a relationship. You don't know until you get your mind back, but you're kind of out of your mind. And as a result, you're communicating a lot. And often about things that aren't directly related to child visitation and exchange, say.
No, I don't. Absolutely. So I guess that is obviously an unfortunate situation, but hopefully it turns into something that's very positive for people. So when you started to do this, did you have to talk to the police, lawyers, judges, or others to figure out the legalities of PwrSwitch, or what kind of conversations did you have, and how were the receptions from those professions?
Well, what I knew from my own experience is that I was really looking to automate what was a manual process right now. So, so we knew legally we were on side. That said, you're talking about networking and the importance of networking. That was really how we started to validate the idea. So my co-founder, Beth, had been working, doing some web development for the kind of leading high conflict communication specialist in the city. So that was brilliant. We had this immediate access to a lot of people living actively in the problem. So we surveyed them to find out how much time did they spend, how much stress did it, sort of what were the impacts on their lives of dealing with this communications. I reached out to my network entirely. Do you know anybody who works on the agency side? Do you know any family lawyers? Do you know any family court judges? And the connections are incredible because, like my daughter's karate instructor, I had no idea, but it turned out that he was a judge. He referred me to a chief crown of the domestic violence unit. That led to connect to the police. That led us to connect to more lawyers on the justice side. So yeah, the power of your network cannot be underestimated. And at each of those meetings, asking, who else should we talk to? Can you make a warm introduction or suggest someone else who could contribute or help us make this solution as effective and robust as it needs to be?
Well, and that's again, I can't stress how much we talk about the power of people's networks and how they are underutilized, and that is such a great story showing that you never know where your next connection or your next even a business lead will come from. A karate instructor that's a judge that sets a whole process in a whole chain of events is priceless.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. Your connections, we think our connections are strictly professional, but they might not be. And it's really, one thing about people with a new idea or sort of new entrepreneurs, they're often afraid to share their idea because they're afraid somebody will steal it or they're nervous about putting it out there. And I will say that any traction, any champion, any level of success, small or large, that we have received has been, I can draw a direct line between just being open and sharing and talking to people about the idea, they've helped make it better. They've helped make it, you need champions.
Yes.
And you need champions in high places. So the only way for that to happen is to talk about it.
Oh, and absolutely, and as you said, not too many people will steal an idea or do something along those lines. But your network and using your contacts to enhance your business. I know we were going to talk about this later on, but it is such a important part. And even getting the feedback, positive, negative, and listening to that feedback is so important. So that's such a great story.
For sure.
So,
if it's a crappy idea, you want to hear that sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. And you want these people to be truthful to you too,
Yeah.
not just tell you what you want to hear. That's for sure. So obviously this isn't just for, high conflict divorces or things that can be used for cyber stalking and bullying for that matter. And last month you reached a milestone by launching a beta testing. I know it's not live for the public yet, but can you tell us how this is going and maybe share us any, updated information moving forward?
Sure. So it's not an active beta. It's we're just doing user testing. So that's really to work the bugs out of how phones sync with our technology, and then the output reports that are kind of your foundation of evidence. So in practice, how PwrSwitch works is a person signs up with their email address and their phone number. And then if you are sort of the person who's harassing me, say, I will enter your email address or addresses and phone numbers. And then tracking just starts going. So we also have the ability, once a phone is synced, to pull a historical record. And that's been a big value to some of our testers. So what I mean by that is if you have backed up your phone or if you haven't changed your phone, we have the ability to pull this historical record of communications for 2 and 3 years in the past. The idea is that once the tracking happens, that everything is saved in this time and date stamped word searchable document on the cloud. So if you're self-representing, you have this consolidated, comprehensive bit of evidence that you can search for the relevant bits. Or if you are engaging counsel, then they can very efficiently do that.
Yeah.
So our testers are coming to us. Some of them are being referred by local family law firms. So they're people living inside the problem from a divorce perspective. And some are finding us through sort of online forums. Because our product isn't live, we haven't been direct marketing it, although we've been out there like this.
Yeah.
And clearly we're being encouraged that there's a real need because, for example, in one case, a woman found us through a national online single physicians moms group.
Oh, wow.
And as I was sharing with you earlier, what's been really interesting to us and validating is that this sort of problem of kind of crappy divorce or harassment really crosses all genders. We do know that it tends to be mainly a female issue, mostly because it's scarier for women when they're experiencing it. That said, we have had male testers. We've had people as old as 60, as young as kind of 30, and everything in between, from blue collar trades people all the way through to Ivy League educated professionals.
Well, obviously that shows that it's a wide variety and it's very valuable. So I guess I do have a quick question on the, when you said it's time dated and stamped, is that the crucial part of what the lawyers or judges or need to see? Is that so it can't be edited? Is that a key part of it?
Yeah, so it can't be edited. And one of our sort of near projections is that and intentions is that we will probably be on blockchain. And that's really to assure immutability, meaning that it's really the only way now to guarantee that it hasn't been edited.
Yeah.
But right now, because the status quo is screenshots, often screenshots don't have a time and date stamp. They can't be authenticated. So our collection also has the ability to issue you a raw data report. So that's with all the source code, which would be important if you were in a criminal case, say, to be able to prove that that information came from your device. So the two things, the time and date stamped are important, and the fact that it's comprehensive. So when people collect subjectively, they collect just sort of as they think it's relevant or as they can. And they might not collect their own bad behavior and send it on, for example.
Yeah.
So this sort of fulsome report is also part of the big value.
Oh,
they're guaranteed sort of better evidence.
Yeah, and obviously evidence is the key to any case. So something like that is crucial. So I mean, what's next for yourself, and where is PwrSwitch going to move forward from here? What are their next steps as well?
We are releasing an Android version, a fully mobile Android version of PwrSwitch in early May. So that will be available to the public for some special introductory price, because really that will be our beta. And we're really looking for people to use it and provide feedback so we can see how people use it, see where the value is, get their input about how else they would like to see it expand. We have the ability to capture audio files as part of the record, for example, or are people interested in capturing other channels like WhatsApp or Viber? So yeah, we're really looking for users to pick it up in early May. We have an iOS download version that will follow sometime after that.
Yep.
And in the meantime, we're attending the Alberta Legal Tech Conference in Edmonton in May, and then a larger conference in Toronto, an international conference that has people who specialize in the high conflict space, mediators, therapists, lawyers, and so on, and really trying to find where PwrSwitch has the greatest resonance.
No, that's, I mean, obviously getting the word out, and especially to those types of people that, you know, will find a big benefit in it and can tell their clients about it. It will be very, very important. So I guess, you know, with all that being said, how do you think, you know, if obviously you've lived through it, but how do you think people will accept this, you know, the mobile app? How do you think that'll roll?
Well, if our testers are any indication, they have all just been like, oh my God, you just changed my life. So you know, I'm sure you've heard, but this whole entrepreneurial journey is like the highest of highs, which are like, you know, minutes, and then what they call the trough of despair. And when we're in the trough of despair, where unfortunately we spend a lot of time, the testers and their reactions are really what keep us passionate and motivated, because really where the idea for PwrSwitch started was in wanting to help people who were in crisis help themselves, and to make them feel safe and supported. And so these the people who come in are like, oh my God, I just spent 3 days preparing for court doing nothing but compiling and consolidating all of these communications. You just did that for me. That and they're like, I would pay anything for this. I'm not charge anything. That's also nice to hear. Yeah. So our expectation is that, like, really, if we can do that for hundreds, thousands, millions of people who are inside this problem, that's really our goal. I mean, what we know is just in North America alone, that there were 19 million reported cases of harassment in 2017. So if those are people who are reporting it, you know that it's an iceberg underneath, because
Absolutely.
most people don't. So, yeah.
Well, anything that will make people feel safe coming forward from being harassed and in any form is powerful. And this is so exciting to hear this, and I'm hoping it's successful, and I hope it makes people's lives a lot better, and I'm sure it will. So that is going to be exciting. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited too.
So I guess if you had one, I don't want to use the phrase "the trough of despair," but if you had one, thing that you could tell a small business owner, that they could do or be, what would you say?
I would say focus on being interested and not interesting. And what I mean when I say that is focus on the possibility rather than kind of on the fear. Be curious about the problem. So there, maybe you've heard this. There's two kinds of mindsets. There's a reactive mindset and a creative mindset. And the reactive mindset focuses on the problem, but on all the reasons why it can't be solved. You kind of fall into anxiety and despair. A creative mindset it requires curiosity and passion, which then leads to action. So if I look at my own example, there is no good reason in my background why anybody would think I could found and lead a tech company, because that just wasn't my experience. But I was really curious about the problem and passionate about how it could be solved. So yeah, and just be interested.
Well, that is, again, I've done a lot of these, and that is the first time I've heard that phrase, be interested, not interesting. I love that. That is, you should trademark that, actually.
Well, people focus a lot on
No.
But really,
I do. I mean, and it's funny. Myself, I love shoes, and I get funky shoes, and I find them, people are like, why do you like, those are just awful. Like my kids and Kathy will just I'm like, you know what? People will come up to me and it starts a conversation.
Right.
And before you know it, the conversation is off shoes in probably 20 seconds. And when we're conversing, and it is something that I'm going to use that phrase. I'm going to have to steal that from you.
You're welcome to it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And thank you, Carrie, so much for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your story today. I truly believe PwrSwitch is going to be influential in the world. It's I'm going to be a big promoter of it, and hopefully maybe in 6 or 7 months we can have you on again and have a little update on how things are going, because I think it's just something that can be such a powerful app and make people just create a better life for people.
That's the hope. And it would be great to come back, because I'm sure all of the things that we're expecting will happen will be something totally else, because that's the way the entrepreneurial journey goes, right? You set an expectation, which is maybe different than an intention, and then customers tell you what you should be doing and where you should be.
Oh, absolutely. And we just had Adette just popped on and said she loved that phrase too, interested and not interesting. So thanks for that, Adette. But again, thank you very much, Carrie, for coming on. Thank you to Healthy Heart Sleep Company for sponsoring this, the Facebook Live. They have 2 locations in Calgary. They are the Calgary's premier sleep apnea company and CPAP company. So support local. We all try and make sure that these local businesses are thriving in today's economy. So thank you to George, Kristen, and their staff. And again, thank you, Carrie. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your story.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Jade. Really.
Excellent. We will talk soon, and I will see everybody next Wednesday. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.